So recently, I just finished watching the live action adaptation of Snow White, and let's just say I have a lot of thoughts, but one thing I want to focus on today is Snow White's dress. I feel like the online consensus surrounding the dress is very negative, with a lot of people calling the dress cheap or synthetic looking, but today I want to break down why exactly people feel this way, and some changes that would have maybe made the dress better. My main issue with the dress is that it just doesn't fit in. In a behind-the-scenes interview, the costume designer Sandy Powell explained that one of her goals while making the dress was to pay homage to the original 1937 dress. But I think she may have leaned a bit too far into the homage without adapting it enough to suit a live-action setting. Unlike animations, costumes in live-action films often need to be modernized or transformed to feel like they fit into our world. That's why when we look at films like the live-action Cinderella or Mirror Mirror, we can see that the prior dresses are transformed by incorporating realistic fabric behavior, historical context, colors, and silhouettes, overall making it more detailed and realistic. Designs like the overly bright colors and untextured or undetailed garments work well in animation, but when you just copy and paste these elements over to real life, it gives the effect of a cartoon character coming to life, essentially flattening the realism by reminding you you're watching a costume. Unfortunately, it seems Snow White's dress fell into this trap, with its overly bright yellow poofy and undetailed skirt, which is my main issue with the dress. I actually think the bodice looks okay. I also think that overly bright colors in a movie that seems like it's aiming for realism are jarring. If we look at the commoners, the prince who is now a bandit named Jonathan, and the dwarves, we can see they are all dressed in muted, more natural tones, which makes the world feel more grounded in reality. But in contrast, Snow White's dress looks unnaturally bright and smooth compared to them, making the dress feel like it belongs in a different film. Story-wise, her dress also makes no sense. She was turned into a maid because the evil queen was jealous of her, so I doubt she was giving her nice, bright dresses to wear. Also, costume designer Sandy Powell explained that she changed the color palette of the original film's dress to better suit Rachel Zegler, who played Snow White. But I would actually go as far to say that the darker tones shown present in the original 1937 film would have actually suited Rachel Zegler more. Art at Midnight made an amazing video analyzing the Snow White adaptation where she goes more into depth, breaking down Rachel Zegler's color theory, and I think she makes a good point that Rachel actually looks best in cool tones, like the original dress, instead of a warmer tone dress that's shown in the adaptation. And I don't think the original colors of the 1937 dress should have been kept the same because I just don't like change, but more so because it just looks better. The original animated dress uses a rich, dark royal blue and soft pale yellow that feels classic and balanced, but the live-action dress uses highly saturated, artificial primary colors, like the bright yellow on her skirt, that look less refined in a realistic setting. Going back to Rachel Zegler's color theory, these bright spring colors often overpower her features, sometimes making the dress too noticeable. The animated film's original deeper color palette is generally more harmonious with her dark winter complexion. Overall, I feel like this film needed to pick a lane. This is a live action, so the costume and visuals are supposed to be more realistic. It feels like they were trying to hold on to the animation art style in the live-action film, which in turn made the film look less realistic and made the dress look much more cartoonish. They would have been much better off using a more realistic, detailed dress while still keeping some of the attributes and characteristics of the original dress. I think the film Mirror Mirror is a really good example of this. They added historical accuracy and more details to the dress while still keeping the blue theme of Snow White's dress from the original. And although it looks completely different from the original dress, it still fits in much better in a live-action setting. This is just speculation, but I think the 2025 adaptation may have not strayed too far away from the original dress, in fear of upsetting people for not following the original version. But as I said before, for a live-action adaptation to work, it needs to adapt to fit in with the current medium, not just replicate for the sake of looking or feeling similar to the original dress. I know this video is much shorter than what I usually post, but that's only because I've been working on a longer video analysis of the Snow White film as a whole. So if you're interested in seeing that, please do subscribe. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for watching.